Well, he's been president of the United States, right? And if he made mistakes before, he should have learned from them. He didn't learn from them. He can't learn from them. He's a narcissistic bully, and he doesn't learn from his mistakes because he's always right, and he feels that he can say anything about anybody. Wait till he talks about me tonight, right? But I don't care. I've been there, done that, and I have had it, and it's time for all of us to have it. He does not deserve a second term.
It's weird how all these former Trump surrogates and yes men, like former GOP Senate candidate Don Bolduc, continue to come out of the woodworks to trash him, saying the same thing people have been saying about him since he entered politics in 2015. But they were dismissed as having Trump derangement syndrome. Here's a little bit more of Bolduc's new derangement now that Trump insulted the military for like the 38th time.
No other president in the history of this country has cast aspersions on service members, veterans, and their families. Donald Trump has that distinction. And where John McCain spent a number of years in Vietnam, in the Hanoi Hilton, Donald Trump sought 5 deferments for bone spurs. Well, I went through Ranger School with bone spurs. And to have a former president of the United States make those comments in a state like South Carolina, the Citadel, Patriots Point, Shaw Air Force Base, Fort Jackson, where one of my sons graduated from basic training, it's despicable. It's wrong. And we need to hold him accountable.
Nikki Haley's utilizing the former brigadier general to respond to Trump's most recent attacks on her husband over his absence due to his military service overseas. So here's a little context, because Bolduc was endorsed by Trump in his failed Senate bid against Senator Maggie Hassan in 2022. He adopted Trump's stolen election lies for the primary, but then he realized it wasn't working out for him in New Hampshire's general election, so he waffled. That might have been the beginning of the end.
I signed a letter with 120 other generals and admirals saying that Trump won the election, and damn it, I stand by my election.
Do you stand by that today?
So, you know, we live and learn, right? And I've done a lot of research on this, and I've spent the past couple of weeks talking to Granite Staters all over the state from every party. And I have come to the conclusion, and I want to be definitive on this. The election was not stolen. Was there fraud? Yes. Is that a concern of Granite Staters all over the state? Yes, there is. But elections have consequences. And unfortunately, President Biden is the legitimate president of this country.
But just back to this question about the election, you said that just a month ago. So this appears to be quite a change. And Mike Pence was there with you last night in New Hampshire. Did you talk about this?
We didn't talk about it, Bill. We talked about moving forward. We talked about this election, and we all have time to make up, to make up for mistakes or things that we've said that aren't accurate, and that's part of learning, that's part of listening.
Trump wasn't very happy about a foot soldier stepping out of line, but since it was down to just Bolduc versus Hassan, he reluctantly endorsed him anyway, and he said this. General Don Bolduc has run a great campaign to be U.S. Senator from the beautiful state of New Hampshire. He was a strong and proud election denier, a big reason that he won the nomination, but he then disavowed. He has since come back, at least on busing, but that's only a small part of New Hampshire election fraud. Nevertheless, Don Bolduc has asked for my endorsement, and he's got it, complete and total. His opponent is a disaster on crime, the border, inflation, and all else. Vote for Don Bolduc. The fakeness of election politics played out right in front of our faces. Bolduc unequivocally claimed that the election was stolen to help himself in the Republican primary. Then he backpedaled when he had to appeal to more than MAGA voters, only to now completely call Trump an unqualified bully and narcissist, unable to learn from his mistakes. Everybody knew that. Trump's former defense secretary isn't happy with his service to Trump either, and he pointed out more things people have been saying since 2015.
I mean, look, with regard to the broader issue, I never felt that Donald Trump understood the importance and virtue of military service, of, committing yourself to service in uniform to defend your country and your fellow Americans. It's just not something he understands or appreciated. So maybe some of that's in there, but this doesn't make much sense.
So the military swords are out. Trump will probably be writing up a rage-filled, name-calling post about Bolduc at about 1:30 a.m. to respond to his insubordination. And Nikki Haley's hoping that all this is going to result in just a little bit of momentum against the guy that she vowed to support if he wins the nomination, despite how unqualified he is.
You didn't misspeak yesterday when you said that he's no longer qualified to be president. You stand by that.
If you are going to hit our military, you are not qualified to be president, period. Because anybody that will mock our military, anybody that will go and put them in harm's way by saying you're going to side with Russia, you are not protecting our men and women in the military.